No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services provided by other lawyers. You found the Backstory Podcast, Municipal Elections Candidate Interviews. I'm Harry Still, and I also have my partner in crime on the phone, Mr. Rip. How are you, Mr. Rip?
Very good, very good.
And we have a municipal candidate with us tonight. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
I'm Steve Gibson, City of Spanish Fort, and I'm running for City Council District 2.
All right, so I see you there. You're running against Carl Gustafson. Is Carl is that person an incumbent? Are you the incumbent?
No, sir. I am new to politics, and I do not want to be a politician. Bill Menas is the incumbent, but he decided not to run. But Carl is an associate broker for Bill Menas.
Okay, so it's a hand-me-down kind of.
Yes, between the two.
Collusion.
So if you're voting for Carl, you're still voting for Bill.
So I happen to love Spanish Fort. I think it's a great little town. Has a lot of history, obviously. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was police and fire. Okay, yeah. Public safety.
Right.
And one of the things that we're kicking around with all of the candidates is the idea of giving our police officers some de-escalation tools and some less lethal options. Is that something that you have considered? Is that something that you would support?
Yes, and our police and fire, and with COVID and with all of these Black Lives Matter and all of the riots and stuff, we got to make sure that our police department, they have the philosophy to know how to talk and de-escalate situations. And they do need lethal weapons. If a situation got to that, I don't want a police officer out there where he can't have his gun.
No, you misunderstand. We're talking about, in addition to lethal weapons, giving them non-lethal weapons like a beanbag shotgun or something that shoots a taser 100 yards.
Most definitely, they need all of the above. Yes, sir.
A Indian blow dart gun. I don't know what we can give them, but anything so they don't have to take somebody's life, especially if it's a
the police at this time. The police at this time are being asked to make calls with mental health issues, and with mental health issues, I think that's where, and it's quite a few calls.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about sewer regulation.
No, I didn't. So I got cut off entirely. Sorry.
Yeah. So, Mr. Gibson, tell me a little bit about I guess you realize living in Spanish Fort that your sewer utility is a private utility.
Yes. The actual city of Spanish Fort does not have a sewer utility of its own. It is privately owned by Baldwin County Sewer. And for me, they have an infrastructure, like a franchise agreement with the city of Spanish Fort, which allows them to operate in the city. But I'm not sure, being new to this arena, I'm not sure about the regulation and the oversight that Spanish Fort is actually doing. And I think that is an issue for being a private company, for their spills, their regulation, and especially their sewer rates. It's do we have any control for their rates? And their rates could get out of hand and just be astronomical. So somehow we have to have some oversight, to take care of that and make sure that they cannot get out of hand.
Well, I, for one, am glad to hear that. That's a breath of fresh air. So we're looking at the county parcel viewer GIS information, and what people think about as Spanish Fort is down here along the causeway. What people probably don't realize is that you guys have annexed dang near to Bay Minette.
We're getting there, and the causeway is just the beginning of Spanish Fort. That's at the very bottom of our city.
So you're landlocked to the south. Do you imagine the city is going to continue to grow in that direction?
In the south or to the north?
To the north. Yes, sir.
Definitely to the north. You got the Golden Triangle that's coming in. I believe the subdivision is called Stonebridge, and it's up to 7,000 homes that are going to go in there.
Man.
So that's going to be a new elementary school, middle school, another high school. That's a lot of infrastructure and all that we got to take care of.
Absolutely. So personnel issues at the city. One in particular has been in the headlines lately, and I'll let Paul get to that in a minute. But I'm a big advocate of the commission manager form of government, and that may not be something you've ever considered. I encourage you to look it up. But are you familiar with the chief of police, the fire chief, the city clerk, the public works director? Do you feel like all the department heads are competent, or are you going to have to wait until you get in office to get a feel for that?
We just got a new police chief, John Barber from Mobile. I've already met him and talked to him, and I think he's been an excellent addition for the city. And I think he's already made some positive changes in our police department. And the few officers that I've been able to speak to, they're really happy to work for him. So John Barber, that's an excellent choice for the city. The fire chief, I do not know. I've never heard anything negative of him.
Yes, sir.
City clerk at City Hall, I think she's been there 27 years. She was there when the city first became a city. It's my understanding that she's planning to retire maybe October 31st. That might be her last day in the office, but because of vacation, holidays, her last day on payroll could be sometime in January. But if I am successful in being elected, that city clerk, it's my understanding, will not be there. I don't know if they will have a new one in place by then or not, but that will definitely be in the works.
So Paul, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, well, the controversy over the mayor and the slapping incident, and then the individual ended up being fired over a COVID incident. I was just wondering what your opinion is of that, because, as well as I do, you're going to be asked that numerous times.
Yes, sir. And I think that the city actually handled it wrong. It just my personal opinion. They probably should have released the video and then let the people make up their own mind. But here's what the city did not do. They did not put out a statement. And if you elect me to be your councilman, I'm going to keep you informed personally and let you know what's going on at the city. And when this incident came up, the folks need to realize the mayor is afforded the opportunity to serve in the capacity that he was elected to by the people. The city council, the attorney, the city clerk have no means at their disposal that they could reprimand him. They cannot put him on leave without pay. But the mayor could resign, but he chose not to, saying he's going to be invalidated in court. But there's a title code in the law, Alabama 144E 168. It's a little confusing to me because I'm not a lawyer. But when I read it, initially it says that 30% of the people that were voted in the last mayor election could actually do a recall. But then when I read it again, what you just mentioned was a commission form of government.
Yes,
Dothan, Alabama is the only city in the state that does have that commission form of government. They are the only city that is allowed to do a recall. And I know no more about the incident than what I hear, on social media or in the media. So, but I would have at least let the people know the city council couldn't do anything. But they should have informed the people, and they probably should have released the video, and then let's try this thing in court and see where it goes, and that's where it should be done and not in the media.
Yes, sir.
Well, Steve, what do you feel is the biggest challenge of Spanish Fort that you're looking at, in this next term?
Well, it's a couple things. One, the people are not informed. They don't feel like there's any transparency at the city. They feel like stuff is being done behind closed doors. So my biggest thing is, that is why Steve is running. Steve is going to keep the people informed of the issues that matter to them and their families that affect their lives. I'm going to let them know what's going on. We're going to seek their input so that the citizens have some input in what's going on, not just 5 or 6 people sitting up there on the stage. And then the other big thing.
Steve, have you thought about YouTubing your video, streaming your meetings online as part of your platform?
Well, because of social media and getting kicked off a couple sites already, and then they said, "Oh, you've already posted more than 2 in 7 days." I'm doing Thursday night lives. Voice your concerns with Steve on Thursday night.
Oh, I meant I meant the city council meetings and the public safety commission meeting and the planning commission meeting. Are those things already online in Spanish Fort? Or would you make a commitment to do that for transparency purposes? That's what
I
I'm
would
asking.
definitely make a commitment that yes, they should be available. They should be live streamed. Yes.
Good. I think so too. And Fairhope has done a good job. I even sit around. I'm one of the 3 people that watches their airport authority meetings and those types of things.
Steve, something we skipped over that we should have said is I noticed you were retired. What line of work were you in?
Well, if you don't mind, I'll just try to give you who I am. I'm a 4th generation Mobilian, went to Little Flower Catholic School, McGill-Toolen, studied accounting at South Alabama. And for some reason, I said I wanted to be a telephone man. It took me 2 years to get on, so I started as a cord board operator on Franklin Street in downtown Mobile. And then I know you know about Hurricane Frederick came. We worked ourselves out of a job. Before the divestiture, they transferred me to Arlington, Virginia. So I've had a 34-year career. The last name was Verizon, but it started South Central Bell, CNP of Virginia, Bell Atlantic, 9X, and then, today we are Verizon. But I worked my way from being an operator, installer, compliance inspector, cable splicer, and I finished the last 9 years as a manager. And I've also 25 years in the Knights of Columbus, where I've been the Grand Knight, a faithful navigator, a district deputy, and I've got some awards that I'm very proud of that I have won in my community service there.
That's awesome. So tell me, you were saying that you're going to do a Thursday night live stream. Are you planning on going door to door during the COVID, or are you going to try to do most everything online, or a little bit of both?
Well, because of COVID, I don't want to offend somebody, and I don't want somebody to taint my campaign saying that I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to walk neighborhoods, and if I find somebody outside, I'm going to try to approach them. But I'm trying to do as much as I can on social media. I feel like that's the platform where I'm doing ads on Facebook. And like you said, I'm doing this Thursday night live where people can send in their questions. I'm picking a topic each week. This first Thursday, I'm going to do a topic on schools. And I'm going to start out, I went to the Planning Commission tonight meeting. It was just a work session, but I'm going to let the people know what's on the Planning Commission agenda. And then we're going to talk about the schools, and then we're going to answer questions that get submitted. And then the next week, we'll have a city council meeting. So I'm just going to try to keep the citizens informed of what's going on. And then, seek the
anytime you want to use this platform, if you're elected or not, let us know, and you can come on and tell anybody what you want to tell them.
Oh, that is wonderful. I greatly appreciate that. Because I just,
we're interested in elected officials who are interested in transparency and doing away with corruption.
Steve, the thing that gets me is you will not see a political race that, they don't mention transparency and accountability. And oddly enough, that ends up being the very issue that you have a problem with later on, So I don't think you can have too much transparency. Some people say they, too much, let the public know too much, then you got to discuss it too much. I don't understand that argument.
They might run me out of town because I'm going to expose them, and the citizens are going to know what's going on in the city of Spencerville.
Well, like Harry said, we're happy to extend the platform to you.
Absolutely, especially during COVID, because people are not going to be able to get out and campaign like they think they can, and nobody.
You mentioned me being retired, and that's one of my things, because by being retired, I can work tirelessly for the people of Spanish Fort. I do not own a business that I can profit from by being on the council. I don't sit on multiple boards and then be a council person, work full time, and have a business that then I got to prioritize. Well, my priority is the citizens of Spanish Fort. I'm a councilman 100% of the time, full time, and that's what.
Sounds like they need somebody like you.
Yeah,
well, I
really
appreciate that.
All right. Was there anything else you want to tell us about? You're Catholic, right? I read that in your bio. You go to Christ the King?
Christ the King, Daphne, and I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus Council that we support Christ the King and Father O'Connor.
All right. Well, I used to go to midnight mass there and then go over to Mancy's right afterward. So I've been
There you go.
to that church before.
Yep.
Steve, one last thing that's just an observation since I've been here doing this for years is I always think there's a lack of communication between the communities on the Eastern Shore. It seems like, Spanish Fort, Daphne, and Fairhope are so tied up with doing their own thing, but they don't speak to each other. So what happens is they always have problems on the peripheral border, where maybe an apartment complex is dumped right on the edge of the border, but they didn't take into consideration the next city who just had an apartment built, and now you got a saturation of apartments. That's just one example, but that's the one thing I would encourage you to do, is to try to bring, they got a couple of organizations, but it just doesn't seem like they communicate very well with each other.
Well, I think we need to partner with each other. And for one, just take Airbuses in Mobile. And then you have Collins Aerospace down in Foley that kind of supports Airbus. We need to talk, to Daphne, Fairhope, Mobile, see what businesses are out there that maybe need some support, and try to see what workforce is out there, do some workforce training, and bring those jobs to Spanish Fort. That's one thing that I hope to do. And then we definitely communicate with all of the cities. Everybody needs to know what's going on, not definitely compete against each other. We're here for the citizens, and let's do what's right for the citizens.
Okay, good.
Wow. Either you've been brainwashed like a Manchurian candidate, or I want to move to Spanish Fort and vote for you. So
Well, you come to Spanish Fort and make sure you live in District 2.
District 2. All right, guys. Well, I tell you what, Steve, we wish you the best of luck. And one tip, I am an attorney, and I want to remind you that every Friday you have to turn in a campaign finance form from now until the election.
Okay.
So don't forget about that. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
Good luck, Steve.
All right.
Good
Thank
luck.
you all. My pleasure.